Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Crimson and in this video we are going to be continuing our look through of the Halo The Art of Building Worlds art book. Not gonna spend too much time on the intro, we're just gonna get straight into things. In the first part of this series, we covered some Forerunner structures, some Forerunner enemy types such as Sentinels, and all of the different species and races that make up the Covenant. However, there were a few missing, which I was kind of disappointed about. The Sanshium were missing, the Yanma'e were missing, the Huragok were missing. So I might make a bit at the end of this series just covering those races based on my knowledge, because trust me, if you guys thought I was mega geek when it came to the Bloodborne video, that is nothing compared to my Halo knowledge, which again is fairly embarrassing. So I had looked through to see what we're going to be covering in this episode, and not going to give away, but I am very, very excited to show you guys what is next. I have this is probably my third or fourth Halo art book that I own, and by far this one is the best. What I am going to do is I'm going to browse through my other books quickly and see if there's any entries on the Sanshium, the Yanma'e, and the Huragok in any of those, and then I will discuss them there. I feel like I'm missing another Covenant race. The Sharkoi aren't really, I mean, technically they are, but not really at the same time. Some people may not even know what the Sharkoi are. Not going to go too much into that because that's like really, really nerd stuff. And also, I forgot to mention in the first video, this is a signed copy, which is why it was the limited edition. I believe there was only 2,000 of these units. And the signatures are stuff like this here. And I believe there's some more actually in the book itself. And just like in part one, I am not going to be reading the passages and text about the mechanics of the game, but I will be reading the text about the subjects that we are covering, the same way I did for like the Sangheili and the Jivalhane and stuff like that. So let's get started. So we left off at the beginning of chapter 3, Tools of Conquest, and here we have a picture. I believe this is from Halo Wars. We have Sangheili here, a couple of grunts, a hunter who's kind of hard to make out. We have a phantom up in the distance, a scarab, which is really cool. This is the Halo 3 type scarab. A scarab here, a scarab here. A phantom that looks kind of different than our standard type of phantom, which is really cool. I really like how in the art books and expanded lore, especially in the books, you know, there's loads of different classes of all these vehicles. And over here is a Locust, which is a unit in Halo Wars 1. I am not sure if I can't remember if they return in Halo Wars 2, but they are a very powerful anti-building unit in Halo Wars 1. Halo Wars 1 is severely underrated, if I did not mention that beforehand. So, let's get started. So, file number 1, it says Covenant Technology. So, let me read this out. The Covenant is a union of different species from across the galaxy united by their religious fanaticism and their tools in this holy war are awe-inspiring. Covenant technology exists in parallel with the tools of the UNSC, an effect of the desire to create a game that's perfect in balance, but its alien nature makes it that much more fantastical. The UNSC's bullets meet with luminous plasma fire from Covenant energy rifles. The warthogs are chased down by floating purple ghosts, and the hornets are engaged in dogfights with air-pirouetting banshees. Covenant military onslaught is a fanatical sight, a fact, sorry, I cannot see, played out on an impressive scale throughout Halo Reach. And that is true, it really is put forward more in Halo Reach more than any other game. So here we have just a picture of a dogfight. We have a Covenant cruiser up here, a couple of Pelicans. I believe there's another cruiser down here. And this, I'm not sure what this is. However, it looks a lot like the Covenant bomb from Halo 2. I'm probably wrong about that. But I'm just going on what it looks like. So, here is going to be what the theme of this chapter is, which I am so excited to talk about, and that is Covenant vehicles. The Covenant vehicles are some of my favorite in all of science fiction and all of video games. As you know, in Halo, vehicles are a massive cornerstone of the sandbox, both in single player and multiplayer. So yeah, let's get into it. So here we have two depictions of, I am pretty sure that this is a CCS Covenant battle cruiser. I might be wrong about that, but that's just what it looks like. These have the ventral cannons that can cause glassing. And here we have some more art and concept art of both the CCS cruiser, like this one here, which is a view from, or like a top-down view. Here is like a more black and white sketch version. And then there's other vehicles here, which seem to be prototypes or concept art of different vehicles. This one here actually looks like one of the Covenant troop transports that appear in Halo 4. However, I am drawing a blank on what this is called. I'm really sorry about that. Here we have this looks like one of the Covenant hubs. This piece, I know it has interior and all that, but this structure reminds me a lot of the Covenant barracks building in Halo Wars. If you play the Halo Wars multiplayer, whether it's online or against bots, you will have the option to play as the Covenant, which is really cool. I always like playing as the Covenant more. I just think they're more fun to play. And yeah, so let's keep on going. So here is another very famous Covenant ship. This is the Corvette. It says Corvettes are more diminutive member of the Covenant fleet. Though they play a pivotal role in the fall of Reach, that is true because the, especially both in the book and in the game, the main, at least at the first, for the first half of the game, the main ships that are appearing over Reach are Corvettes. And the Corvettes are coming from a supercruiser, which is the objective of the Long Night of Solace, where we board one of these, transfer it to refuel at the supercarrier, and then when we get to the supercarrier, we detonate the slipspace drive, which is super, super cool. This here, by the way, is just more about the mission Long Night of Solace in Halo Reach, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Here is a really cool picture of, actually multiple pictures, of the events and the ending of the Long Night of Solace. So this is the cruiser that we made the Corvette that we boarded go and refuel. So this is the Corvette here. I believe this is the... Sorry, no, I'm mistaken. That's the carrier. And we see the carrier flying along, and then boom, the slip space bomb goes off, and along with the bomb, this is when we lose our first member of Noble Team, which is really, really sad, and the first member of Noble Team that we lose. And yeah, just to confirm, this is a Covenant super carrier that we are seeing, which is one of the Covenant elite battleships, and also a massive troop carrier. I don't know the exact number, but I believe the super carrier holds, it's either between 300,000 and 500,000 troops, not to mention the crew of the ship. That's just like soldiers being transported alone, which is insane. And given the amount of these things that show up just for Reach alone, it really just goes to show that humanity stood no chance. It's like, you know, I believe there's a saying in the Halo universe, it's like, you know, once one Covenant ship appears above your world, you know, that's it. It may not fall that day, it may not fall next week, but once they know or find a planet and locate it, it's essentially done. It's just a ticking time bomb until it gets glassed. So next up is the Scarab. So we'll start on the left. So this is from Halo 2. This is Master Chief with a battle rifle, and the Halo 2 Scarab. I really like the Halo 2 Scarab, actually. However, I do prefer the look of the Halo 3 Scarab more. It feels more threatening, and it feels a lot more powerful. This type of Scarab seems to be mainly just focused on its frontal rental cannon, but it does seem to be able to house a lot more troops and is significantly more difficult to destroy than the Halo 3 Scarab, which you can destroy by, you know, punching the back of it 3 or 4 times. Here is some concept arts of the different Scarabs. I don't think this is concept art of either the Halo 2 or Halo 3 Scarab. This, to me, looks just like general concept art, and as you can see, they have different types of guns on them. This one looks more like, you know, a long-distance range or railgun cannon type of weapon, and I'm not sure what this one is, but this one looks maybe something like anti-air, or I'm not sure, I'm just guessing. And we have a couple more pictures here. This one looks a lot more kind of wider. This one has, it's a little bit thinner and scrawnier. And then this one is very similar to the Halo 3 Scarab. But all 3 of these share the design of the general layout of the Halo 3 Scarab, with its frontal cannon as well as its anti-air cannon on the top. I'm not sure if all of these are anti-air cannons, but that's the way the Halo 3 one is set up anyway. So let's read a little bit about the Scarab. So file 0.005 Scarabs. The Scarabs are the Covenant's real showstoppers. Having had the introduction in Halo 2, Their first full-on appearance was in Halo 3, the moment the Master Chief first brings one to its knees. Remains one of the series' most exhilarating moments, and it really is, going up the construction crane and waiting for the scarab to get in place and then jumping on top of it is so much fun, and definitely one of the standout moments in the entire series when you first play the game. The design works was dictated to a large extent on how they'd work in-game. As Shi K. Wong explains, we had to mock up a prototype platform for how the gameplay would work in a limited surface. Once we were satisfied with that, we then built the concept around it. You can tell by the concept sketches of the scarabs that there were consistent themes of 2 layers, outer areas of walking around turrets, etc., which is true. I also forgot to mention, on each side of the scarab are 2 plasma cannons. I'm assuming those are for trying to dispel enemy infantry boarding, whereas the main cannon is more of an anti-vehicle, like an anti-tank weapon, and then the turret at the top is more of an anti-aircraft weapon, so it really has all 3 covered. It has anti-infantry, anti-vehicle, and anti-air. Sorry, I just had to take a little break just to get a drink of water. My throat was getting a little bit dry after all of the reading. So next up, we have the Covenant Wraith. The Covenant Wraith is the main battle tank for the Covenant. It fires a plasma mortar compared to the Scorpion, which is your more traditional tank. So the Wraith, when you're playing, it's a little bit harder to aim. However, it's very good at kind of going over cover, so you're able to shoot over cover and hit enemies where you wouldn't be able to if you didn't have a direct line of sight on the with the Scorpion. Here it says, concept art of the Wraith, the Covenant's tank class unit, to which the finished article remains faithful. And again, we have multiple different variations of the Wraith here. I believe the Wraith, and I might be wrong about this, I believe the Wraith is one of the vehicles that is featured in all of the mainline Halo games. I know it's first in CE is when it makes its debut, and it's in 2, it's in 3, I'm pretty sure it's in 4, it's been a while since I've played 4 actually. I know it's in 5, and it is an infinite to a degree, but the infinite one is meh. All of them have different designs, obviously, but they all share the same function. However, the Halo 2 Wraith has a plasma turret on either side, as well as the mortar. So it's very good for dealing with close-up infantry if you get a little bit too close for comfort. And it's especially handy in the Halo 2 multiplayer for enemy team members trying to get up close to you and board you and, lob a grenade down your throat. Here we have the Covenant Ghost. In my opinion, I think the Ghost is the most well-known and iconic Covenant vehicle in Halo. This too is also featured in all of the mainline Halo games, and it is drivable in all of the Halo mainline games. Oh, sorry, one thing before we continue, I forgot to say about the Wraith. In Halo 3, there is a different variation of the Wraith called the anti-aircraft Wraith. And as opposed to the main plasma mortar, it fires a volley of essentially plasma cannon shots into the air. And in Halo 3, there is no proper or official way to drive this vehicle. However, there is a way to drive this vehicle, and doing so is so much fun. So the way you do it, and you know, if you've played Halo 3 or old like I am, you probably know this. The way you do it is you punch the hatch off of the Wraith until the driver, either the Brute or the Elite, is visible. You take their shields down so that they are one shot to the head. And what you do is you hold the enter vehicle button right as you kill the driver. Because what happens is, once you kill the driver, the Wraith automatically explodes, which does not happen with the standard Wraith. However, if you time it properly, you are able to enter the Wraith before it explodes, and then you are able to drive it and fire it to a limited capacity. It's not super useful, it's not the best, but it is just fun to do. And again, variations of vehicles and weapons in games is an absolute favorite of mine. So let's read about the Ghost. So, the Covenant Ground Fleet. The earlier designs in Halo Combat Evolved had more of the sort of exploration, where the concept influenced the object's purpose in the game, says Shi K. Wang, of the birth of the Covenant's ground forces. For example, the Wraith was designed as some sort of Covenant tank, but there weren't any real ideas on how they should shoot, and what they should shoot. But the concept made them look more like vehicles that lobbed artillery than a straight projectile shooting tank, which is what I mentioned earlier. I think that helped to drive the decision for how the Wraiths could be used in-game finally. Wraiths and Ghosts are the backbone of the Covenant military, and while other vehicles have joined them over the years, they're the real bread and butter. Coming up against a Wraith and taking it down with some rifle fire and then a well-thrown grenade is exciting. Now as it was in the first game, which is true, and it's even more fun in Halo 2 and forward, where you're able to board the Wraith and either throw a grenade inside or just punch it to death. Also, I just want to say this because I forgot to say it in the first video. Shi K. Wang, I doubt you will ever see this video. However, if I mispronouncing or butchering your name, I sincerely apologize. I am awful at names. So I just wanted to say that, just in case I am getting it wrong. So yeah, let's continue. Now, on to my personal favorite vehicle in Halo, the Brute Chopper. The Brute Chopper is an excellent anti-vehicle vehicle. It's good against infantry, however, its projectiles are essentially two high-powered brute shots on either side with an extremely high rate of fire. So this means that hitting enemy infantry, especially in multiplayer, can be a little bit tricky, especially at close range. However, it absolutely shreds warthogs and ghosts and banshees to an extent if the banshee is flying low enough. The best part about the chopper, and what makes my favorite vehicle in the game, apart from just how it looks, that's probably the second reason why it's my favorite, is the fact that it is based on a motorbike design, and it has two massively spiked wheels here, which you can kind of see better here the wheels underneath the armor. So this vehicle is great at ramming enemy vehicles because it has a little bit of a turbo boost which activates for a few seconds, and if you do that to a ghost or a warthog, it is a one-hit kill, and it is so much fun every time. I'm not even kidding. Here we have some more concept arts of the chopper. This one here is the one featured in Halo Wars. This one here looks more similar to the Halo 3 chopper. This one looks a little bit more clean cut and a bit more sterile, I would say, than the Halo 3 one, but still, whereas this one never really got featured in game, but it's just a really cool design, and seeing how the concept art, maybe this was like the original draft and then it got changed into this. So let's read what it says. Choppers are inspired by their real-life namesake. They're cast in mold of bulky, low-riding motorbikes under the Harley-Davidson of the Halo vehicle set. Very true. If Harley-Davidsons could ram into a standard car and have it instantly explode, which would be pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. As Halo 3 brought the brutes to the forefront, it also introduced some of their own vehicles. The Type 23 Rapid Assault Vehicle, or Chopper, so the Type 23, I'm guessing, is the one featured in Halo 3, and I actually did not know that that is what it's called, so I am learning something in this, which is cool. Even as a quote-unquote Halo expert, anytime I learn any little bit or any tidbit of information, it is always a benefit. Where was I? Well, the chopper is an apt choice for a ride for the brutes. It's thuggish, somewhat unwieldy, and utterly lethal, which that description, thuggish, somewhat unwieldy, and utterly lethal, is probably the best description for all of the brutes' vehicles and weaponry. Okay, so let's move on. Next up, we have some vehicles which have only appeared once in the Halo games. We'll start with this one. So, this is some artwork of the Revenant, which is featured only in Halo Reach. The versions here do not seem to be the version featured in the game. The version featured in the game is almost like a mini Wraith, kind of like a combination between a Wraith and a Ghost. The depictions here have all kinds of different variations of it. There are some versions down here which are vastly different to what we see in game. Instead of the cannon which the driver operates, it has a gunner seat, so it is much more akin to a Warthog, and is actually very similar to the Spectre, which is featured in Halo 2. Also, another difference between these and the version in Halo Reach is the version in Halo Reach is like a dark red, maroon, kind of mix between red and purple, whereas this is just your standard Covenant purple. I actually really like the color of the vehicle in Reach. I just think it adds a little bit more flavor to the Covenant's arsenal. Really, really cool. And yeah, it's not the best vehicle in the game, but it is cool. And just having new vehicles, whether or not they are super useful or super good, in my opinion, really doesn't matter. But just having variety is really cool. I do really wish that a lot of these vehicles carried over between games. A lot of the Covenant weapons and vehicles have a tendency of only appearing in one Halo game and then disappearing. So over here we have a vehicle that is only featured in Halo 2, and this is the Covenant Spectre. Now, the Covenant Spectre is the closest thing to the Covenant's equivalent of the UNSC Warthog. So it has the driver seat, who operates the vehicle. You have the gunner seat, where the gunner operates the main offensive cannon on it. It's not super powerful, but it is just cool. Again, adds more flavor to the Covenant. And it also has 2 passenger seats, which is great. So what I always do in these missions is when these mainly pop up in the Arbiter missions. So what I do is I give my elite comrades the strongest weapons, whether that's beam rifles or fuel rod cannons, and then have them sit in the passenger seats. One, because especially with the beam rifle, they are extremely accurate, the AI is. The AI may be horrendous at driving. If you have ever had Cat drive you in Halo Reach, you know how much of a shit show it is, pardon my French. But when you give an AI a weapon, they have unlimited ammo for it. So if you have 2 guys on either side with field rod cannons, they absolutely decimate vehicles, and their accuracy is really good even with the field rod cannon, even though it's a fairly slow moving projectile. This version looks more like concept art. It's a little bit different. As you can see, the driver seat is more in the front, the gunner seat is in the middle, and it has a ring around it, but I'm not sure if this version has passenger seats. This right here, I don't know if you guys can see this. Try to move the book a little bit. It looks like something that maybe a passenger could stand on, but I'm not sure, as this vehicle or this variation does not appear in the game. This one isn't exactly how it appears in the game, but this is very, very close to it. Really cool vehicle. I wish this appeared in a lot more Halo games, because all of the Covenant vehicles, or the mainline ones at least, so like, you know, your Chopper, your Wraith, your Ghost, your Banshee, are all single occupant vehicles, whereas the Spectre, and to some degree the Revenant, are more team-based vehicles, which are really, really cool. Which I think the Covenant could really benefit from, especially in the sandbox and in multiplayer. This, for example, I think the Spectre in the Invasion game mode in Halo Reach, which is my personal favorite game mode in Halo Reach, and my personal favorite game mode in Halo as a whole. It is an amazing game mode. If you are not familiar with Invasion, it is a objective-based map or game type with 3 stages. Each stage has a different objective, and it ends with either the Covenant carrying a data core to an extraction phantom, or having the Spartans plant a bomb in a Covenant base. if you have ever played any of the Battlefield games, it is very similar to the Rush game type, where it's the first area is rather small and complex, and you gain access to more and more and more of the level as the offensive team completes objectives. So the offensive team keeps on moving forward, while the defending team has to keep moving back and setting up defensive measures. I really wish there was a Battlefield Artbook, because I would love to cover Battlefield. It is probably my favorite modern military shooter game. Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 in particular are my favorites. Battlefield 1 is really good too, but to me it doesn't even hold a candle to Battlefield 4. Anyway, enough about Battlefield. This is a Halo video. Let's stick to our space opera. That's the end of the Covenant vehicle section. So now we are moving on to the fourth chapter, Falling Skies. So an arresting glimpse of Reach's destruction shows the Covenant force operating at full and deadly strength. Artist Frank Capizzuto, I apologize if I butchered your name, which I know I did, provides some technical insight. This was a mood piece for the destroyed-only base on the planet Reach, serving as a concept artist and fabricator for the scenario. We are always looking to reduce the footprint of our levels on the game disc. We explored using tricks of lighting, color palette, and additive details to quickly convey a different feel or mood to permeate each level. And yeah, this is a incredible art piece here. So we have 3 banshees flying towards a destroyed Oni site. This building here looks very similar to the Oni base that we destroy in Halo 3 ODST. And over here we have a Covenant carrier. Actually, this might be a battle cruiser as well. Sorry, I can't tell from this angle, but its ventral cannon is in full force, and it is in the process of glassing a planet. The ventral cannon is these ships' main offensive tool against ground forces, and not just ground forces, the Covenant glass entire planets. Now, why is it called glassing? It's because the ventral cannon superheats and melts everything on the surface, and it all becomes one solid mass of very similar to obsidian, which absolutely destroys a planet. So not only do the Covenant show up and kill every human on the planet, they glass the entire planet, making it completely uninhabitable. So every time the Covenant attack a planet, that's essentially one planet gone from the UNSC. Last thing I'll say about this, about glassing, is Halo 5 has many faults. However, one thing I think is really cool about it is, I believe it's the 3rd or 4th mission, where you play as Spartan Locke's team, where you are on a planet who is in the process of deglassing a planet. So these are colonist miners sent to try and revitalize the planet, and it is an extremely lengthy process based on how thorough the glassing works. And this, by the way, is a very small ventral cannon, and this ship is glassing it within atmosphere, which is kind of rare. The Covenant's usual MO is to glass it from orbit, so they don't even have to enter the atmosphere and have to worry about AA guns or anything like that. They just sit up in space and glass planets, which is kind of funny because, the elites or the Sangheli are all about, oh, honor this, honor that. Meanwhile, they'll happily sit up in the safety of orbit, glassing civilians and genociding entire worlds. So, quote unquote, honor, I guess. Next up, Death from Above. The Type 25 troop carrier is the Covenant's equivalent of the UNSC Pelican. It's a workhorse, ferrying soldiers in large numbers. They were replaced by the sleeker and faster Phantom in Halo 2, 3, and ODST, though Halo Reach saw their distinctive shape, which has led them to being affectionately dubbed tuning forks, which is true, they do look like tuning forks. So, we first see these in Halo Combat Evolved, and in that game, these are the main dropship for the Covenant. They are lacking a lot of the offensive capabilities of the Phantom and are able to hold a lot less troops, which the Phantom is essentially a upgrade in every single way. However, they do return in Halo Reach to some extent. The Phantom is also present in Halo Reach, but it is awesome just, again, seeing both vehicles. I know I'm like a broken record, but variety in vehicles and weapons, even if they serve the same purpose, is one of my favorite things. So, yeah, the Phantom is definitely the better of the dropship. Both can carry vehicles. I don't know if you can see in this picture here, there is some kind of vehicle being held in the gravity field between the tuning forks. Also, this is the vehicle that Captain Keyes absolutely bodies two hunters while piloting because he is a certified G. Rest in peace, Captain Keyes. And over here, we find some more variations of the Covenant troop transports. So this troop transport is not in any of the Halo games. This looks like a prototype of the Phantom with its deployable drop-down rampway, and you see some elites, some grunts, and I believe that's a hunter there. And there's another elite running down there, and I think that's a grunt, or maybe that's a rock. I can't really tell. Really cool design, but this is not featured in any of the Halo games. We also have a Spectre here, so I'm assuming because of the presence of a Spectre, this is potentially concept art for Halo 2. Here, again, we have another concept art. This one is more in line with the Spirit. We have some elites. This guy is sliding down, so is this guy. So this guy has just landed. Again, elites dropping off on the other side, and again, we have a Spectre. Really cool vehicle. Not the best, but its inclusion in Halo Reach is amazing. And for the first iteration of the Covenant dropship, it is really, really good, despite it being outclassed by the Phantom. Maybe that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments. Which do you prefer, the Spirit or the Phantom? I am Team Phantom. Here we are getting into some really interesting stuff. So this is starting to get into more of the Covenant air vehicles. So here we have the Covenant Seraph Fighter. So the Seraph Fighter is the main vehicle used in space combat by the Covenant. The Covenant does have space-worthy versions of the Banshee, but they are very weak, and these Seraphs are really good. They are very fast, they are very deadly, they have shields of their own, whereas the Space Banshees do not. Here, and here, these are concept arts of the Seraph. This is more in line with the Seraph that we get in the game. The Seraph is first introduced in Halo Reach. I think they might make an appearance in Halo 5, just as something you see flying in the distance. However, Halo Reach is the only game in which you actually fight them as an enemy, and they are very, very good. However, if you have played Halo Reach on Legendary or Lasso, like I always do, playing Long Night of Solace and fighting these things is enough to make you want to rip your hair out with how deadly they are and how tough they are. Here are some more different variations of it. These two look very off, so does this one, but it looks more a bit more in line, but also very unique and actually really, really cool. I actually like this design more than I do this Seraph. This Seraph looks more Covenant, but this one looks cooler, and I just realized I made a mistake. The Seraph Fighter is actually first featured in Halo 2 in the very first Arbiter mission, where you are assaulting the Heretic base. In the hangar, where you have to clear it out of both Heretics and Sentinels, there is a Seraph Fighter in the hangar. And then on the second Arbiter mission, when you are fighting the Heretic leader, you are fighting in the same hangar, and the Heretic leader is actually on top of the Seraph, about to board when the Arbiter catches him and holds him at gunpoint. I'm not going to go on a tangent about the Heretic leader, because that could be an entire video on its own. If you have played Halo 2, in my opinion, it's one of the most frustrating cutscenes ever, because, to keep it brief, the Heretic leader is trying to explain to the Arbiter that, the prophets are lying and the Great Journey is a lie based on what 343 Guilty Spark told him. And he's telling the Arbiter this, and the Arbiter seems like he is actually listening, like he's actually open to the idea and is willing to at least hear his fellow Sangheili out. However, just when the Arbiter starts to, listen and maybe contemplate things, the Heretic leader just opens fire on him, which I do not understand. Had the two just talked, so much could have been saved, and the Heretic leader did not deserve to die. He was a absolute legend. Here we have the Covenant Banshee. It says, the Banshee remained the sole airborne vehicle to the player until Halo 3 opened the aerial options. Again, I believe the Banshee is featured in all of the Halo games. I'm not sure about 5. Banshees are in Halo 5. I don't know if you can pilot them in Halo 5. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think you can. But in the other games, they all are featured and all are pilotable. Just like the Wraith and Ghost and everything, they are subject to changes between games. Halo CE has the most basic form, and then in Halo 2, Halo 3, and Halo Reach, 4 and Infinite, you gain the ability to perform evasive maneuvers in the form of barrel rolls and overhead rolls, which is really cool. One thing I like about the Halo CE Banshee, though, is you are able to hover in midair without moving. One of the things about the Banshee is you are moving at all times, going very, very fast, so it's essentially like a hit-and-run vehicle, which I think is cool. And some variations, the Banshee is armed with 2 weapons, 2 dual plasma cannons, which are essentially highly powered, highly rate of fire plasma rifles, essentially, and a bomb, which is like a super powered version of the fuel rod cannon. The plasma cannons are good for infantry, the bombs are good for vehicles, and some versions of the different Halo games allow you to lock on with the bomb to enemy vehicles. I know Halo Reach had the option to lock on to essentially any enemy vehicle, whereas I think in Halo 2 you were only able to lock on to other Banshees. So yeah, here we have a look at the Phantom. So Phantoms replaced the Spirit after Halo Combat evolved as the Covenant's troop carrier of choice, which I fully agree the Covenant was 110% right to do so. Here we have some concept art of the Phantoms. These ones look very different. They look a lot more, I don't know what the term is, they look a lot more bony, I think. And this one especially actually looks rather organic in its design, and I like how this one has landing gear, whereas normal Phantoms just have the grav drive. I'm just going to see if there's more about the Phantom on the next page. If not, there's something I want to say about the Phantom. Okay, so little bit of a fun fact. If you play Halo 2 Remastered and you play the mission Sacred Icon, this is the 3rd Arbiter mission, where you are sent to retrieve the Sacred Icon and fight the Flood. In the cutscene, the Phantom is flying backwards, which is one of those things that until someone points it out, you never notice, and then once you notice it, you can never unsee it. I saw it the first time I played through, and I was like, wait, what? And then I went on YouTube, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh my god, they made it backwards. So I think that is just an error on the devs' point, but it is really funny. Maybe the Phantoms can fly at full speed backwards, I'm not sure. But anyway, lower tangent aside, you guys have to excuse me. I'm going to be like this for this entire series, by the way. Next up, High Charity. So, what does it say? File point 009. AT, the heart of the Covenant is High Charity. Oh, sorry, at the heart of the Covenant is High Charity. I can't believe I said AT. I'm not even going to edit that out. That's going in so I can be embarrassed. A colossal planetoid station that acts as both a mobile base and the capital city. It makes the game debut in Halo 2, where it's infested by the Flood and then leads to the fall of High Charity. And Halo 3 sees the Master Chief exploring its infected corridors in search of entrapped Cortana. So, High Charity is home to millions, if not billions, of Covenant. Covenant are born there, raised there, grown up there. You know, there's so many Sangheili there that have never even been to St. Helios, and same goes for a lot. You know, the grunts are essentially trapped there because the planet got glassed by the Covenant. And yeah, the reason the Flood were able to take such control of the city and essentially destroy it so quickly, which would have happened eventually because it is the Flood, but the Gravemind decided to launch his attack in the middle of the Great Schism. So during this time, both on the ground inside High Charity and in orbit around High Charity in form of the Covenant carriers, they are fighting each other, the brute ships against the elite ships, and the brutes and I believe the jackals versus the Sangheli and the grunts, and eventually the hunters come to the Sangheli aid. But unfortunately, that's a little bit too late because at that point, High Charity is gone. So the Covenant is severely weak. All of their, or like most of their ships are either engaged or destroyed or too badly damaged to do anything. All of the main fighting force and warriors within High Charity are at each other's throats. So the Flood are able to sneak in, and the reason, or how they get in, is they have commandeered or hijacked, whichever term you prefer, the UNSC ship in amber clad, and they essentially fly it into High Charity through a slip space portal and crash it into part of High Charity. And the Flood do their thing and absolutely wreak havoc. And going through those missions as Master Chief is so much fun because you're seeing the Covenant fight each other. You know, if you're playing on Legendary, you can just sit back and watch the elites and brutes kill each other and then come in at the end and mop up the weakened survivors. So yeah, very cool. High Charity is a really neat design. If you haven't seen High Charity, it looks like a jellyfish. It has like a half dome structure with then kind of like an inverted spire going down with all kind of tendrils, which are buildings and stuff. So really cool design. And as far as science fiction cities go, High Charity is by far my favorite, both in form and function. Next up, and this is the bit I was looking forward to most in covering in this art book. Chapter 4, A Monument to All Your Sins. So, this chapter is all about the Flood. However, guys, this is where we are going to end off on this video, as we are reaching the hour mark on this video. So next time we are going to be continuing on from here, and I'm actually, just because I have nothing else to do today, once I am done recording this part of the video, I'm just going to start recording the same thing. So if you see me in the same hoodie in the next part, it's because I'm recording this literally seconds after this recording ends. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. We are about a little over halfway, so I'm hoping to get this done in 3 parts. I don't want to make a habit of doing 4-part videos. However, if that does end up being the case, then so be it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learning about Halo and bits of information as much as I enjoyed talking about Halo. And I hope you guys can excuse all of my lore dumps. So, I will see you guys in the next video. And yeah, have a good day, and I will see you guys in the next video. If you are watching this video or listening to this video while trying to relax or while going to sleep, this is the end of the video. So I'm going to give you guys about 5 seconds just to click off so that the ad does not wake you up or disturb you. And yeah, so I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.